Defarge and the three men, all of whom shared the codename Jackers, were discussing what had just occurred in the street. It's not often that these miserable beasts have a taste of wine, said one of the men. Defarge nodded in sad agreement. So now Defarge and the three men, which are named as Jackers, they were discussing about the pouring of the red wine in the street. So for that, Defarge told that it's not for the first time that these miserable beasts, the wild, okay, have the taste of wine. So Jackers, the room, yes, on the fifth floor. Can you find your own way? So after that, they asked about the room. So Defarge, he guided them on the fifth floor. Yes, one of us has been there before. And after that, he asked if he could find the own way. So he asked that he could, because one of them was there before. When they left, the older gentleman came up to Defarge and asked to speak to him. He led the gentleman over a dark corner to talk. Not long after that, the gentleman, who was of course Jarvis Lorry, gestured to the young lady to go to the floor. So when these three, the Jackers, they left from there, the older gentleman, who was here Jarvis Lorry, he came up to Defarge and wanted to speak him. And Defarge led Jarvis Lorry over a dark corner for talking there. Then he gestured, Jarvis Lorry, he gestured young lady to go to the door. He told, and means gestured means pointed with the hand or with the eyes, the young lady to go to the door. The three of them went out of shop into a stinking black courtyard. Three of them who were there, Jarvis Lorry, Miss Manette and Defarge. They went out of the shop into a stinking means very bad smelling black courtyard. Surrounding it was a great pile of houses in which a great number of people lived. So the house where they moved, the shop that was surrounded by a great pile of houses, large number of houses they were there around the shop in which the great number of people lived. Defarge went and bent and kissed Miss Manette's hand, but there was no kindness in his face. So Defarge, he did not show any kindness towards Miss Manette, though he kissed Miss Manette's hand. He had become a secretive, angry and very dangerous man. So it shows that before that he was a kind man, but now he had changed into a secretive, angry and very dangerous man. They made their way across the dirty tiled entrance and up the stair. So they passed from the dirty tiled entrance, the area, the surrounding where they were living, quite dirty it was, and then they went the upstairs. Is he alone? Said Mr. Lorry as they climbed. Now Mr. Lorry and Defarge, they both are talking about Mr. Manette. Both are talking about Mr. Manette. So Jarvis Lorry, he confirmed from Defarge if the person whom they are going to meet, if he was alone. Of course he is alone. Who should be with him? Is he always alone then? Yes. Has he changed a great deal? Changed. So when he said these all words, changed, so suddenly Defarge's face tightened in anger as they climbed more floors past open doors where people sat in their dark, miserable room. So suddenly his expression of the face, it was changed when he listened the word changed from Jarvis Lorry. So Miss Manette had not said a word. Mr. Lorry now almost had to carry her along. Her body had gone weak and she was trembling there. Now as they were approaching near the room, so Miss Lorry's condition, it was getting worse. Okay, and she was trembling also, body had gone weak. Courage, dear miss, the worst will soon be over. Okay, so according to Jarvis Lorry, what is the worst here? That Mr. Manet, father of Miss Manet, was prisoned for 18 years, and now that time it's going to be over. So that's why he told Miss Manet to have a courage. The worst will soon be over here. As they reached the fifth floor, they saw three men Defarge had been talking to earlier. Looking into the room through a small window, Mr. Lorry was surprised and concerned. He became surprised why these three men, they were looking into the room through a small window, and with these men Defarge was talking earlier. Do you make a show of Mr. Manet, sir? Defarge was not put out by Laurie's quiet anger. I show him to a chosen few. Is that the right thing to do? I think it's. Who are the few? So here again Defarge and Jarvis Lorry, they both are talking here. So Jarvis Lorry, he asked Defarge if he make show of Mr. Manet, means he is sitting there and the men, they can peep through the window. Defarge was not put out by Mr. Lorry's anger. I show him to the chosen one, and he did not get angry and told that he showed only the few people. So, and Jarvis Lorry, he inquired if he was doing the right thing, and Defarge, he told yes, it's right. And then he asked about the few people whom he was showing. So real men like myself, to whom the sight of this poor man may do good, men called jackers. Enough, your English you don't understand here. Okay, so what he, for that, who are the people, who are the few people that see Mr. Manet? Real men. And he told real men like myself. And why he showed? So that they may do something good to Mr. Manet. Okay, so men called jackers. Okay, men called jackers here. Enough, your English you don't understand here. Now Defarge, he wanted to Jarvis Lorry make understand about the emotions. Okay, and he told that you are English and you do not understand the emotion about others. Defarge, who wished the conversation to end, took a large key out of his pocket. He was about to put it into the door when Jarvis, Mr. Lorry, touched his hand. So now Defarge, he kept Mr. Manet in a locked room, and then he took out the key from his pocket and unlocked the door. Then what happened there? Mr. Lorry touched his arm. Why do you keep the door locked? Because he lived so long in prison, in prison that he would go mad with the fear if he were not locked up. So for that, Defarge told Lorry that he lived about 18 years in the prison, and if he would not locked up, he would go mad there. Mr. Lorry said nothing and followed the large man into the dark room. For a moment they saw nothing. Then at the back, next to the only window, they saw a white-haired figure sitting on a bench making shoes. So Mr. Lorry then, he did not say anything, and then he quietly followed Defarge into the dark room. So for a moment they could not see anything in the room, and then near the window what they saw, a white-haired figure sitting on a bench making shoes. Defarge was the next to speak to the bent figure, "Good day." And when they came close to this white-haired man, Dr. Manet, so Defarge, he spoke to the old man. The man did not look up from his work. He just said, "Good day. Still hard at work, I see." The white head lifted for a moment. "Yes, I'm working." So he, without looking, he answered for the good day, but he kept himself busy in the work, still hard at work. And when again Defarge, he asked Dr. Manet about the work. Then he lifted his head for a moment and told that still he was working there. The old man's voice had so lost its life that it was like a voice from underground. Defarge went to window. So the old man who was making the shoe, his his voice, it was so weak that it seems that it comes from the underground. Okay, because he spent there 18 years alone in the prison of Basile, and there he did not talk, I think, with anyone. So his voice, it became so weak that it appears to come from the underground.